Welcome to World Buzz Bulletin. Beijing is increasingly viewing the latest high-level diplomatic visit from the United Kingdom not as an isolated bilateral meeting, but as a calculated move in a much larger geopolitical chess game. As British officials land in the Chinese capital for talks on trade and climate cooperation, state-controlled media and government analysts in China are framing the trip as part of a broader Western effort to recalibrate relations with the world's second-largest economy. In the eyes of the Chinese leadership, London is acting as a key pivot point for a renewed European strategy that seeks to balance economic necessity with a growing pressure to align more closely with Washington's restrictive stance on technology and security. This perspective is driven by a belief that the UK is attempting to test the waters for a more coordinated G7 approach toward China in 2026. Beijing remains wary that behind the talk of cooperation lies a long-term strategy of derisking that could eventually lead to the containment of Chinese technological and economic expansion. For China, the stakes of this visit extend far beyond the immediate agenda, as it looks for signs of whether the UK will maintain its own strategic autonomy or serve as a conduit for a more aggressive transatlantic policy aimed at curbing Chinese influence in the Indo-Pacific. The key reasons China sees this visit as part of a bigger picture include the transatlantic link. Beijing views the UK's diplomatic timing as a deliberate attempt to synchronize European policy with the current administration in Washington, creating a more unified front on sensitive issues like South China Sea security and semiconductor exports. The post-Brexit pivot. Chinese analysts believe the UK is using this visit to redefine its global Britain identity, seeking to prove it can still exert significant influence in Asia independently of the European Union. Economic leverage. As China grapples with its own economic transitions, it sees the UK's interest in trade talks as a sign that Western economies remain deeply dependent on Chinese markets. Despite the rhetoric of decoupling, global governance rivalry, Beijing interprets the UK's focus on rules-based order during these talks as a subtle challenge to China's growing influence in international institutions and its efforts to promote an alternative multilateral framework. As the meetings progress, the tone from Beijing remains one of cautious engagement. While the Chinese government welcomes the opportunity to stabilize trade, it is simultaneously signaling that it will not be pressured into concessions that it perceives as undermining its national sovereignty or long-term development. For the international community, the outcome of this visit will be a major indicator of whether 2026 will be a year of pragmatic stabilization or the start of a more rigid era of global bloc-based competition. We will continue to monitor the official communiques from both Beijing and London as these high-stakes discussions conclude. Thank you for watching World Buzz Bulletin.